Thank you for joining me. It's another beautiful day. Continue to watch, like, share, comment, and for those of you who haven't done so, please subscribe. It helps this channel to grow. Today's talk is going to be a bit controversial because it focuses on sexuality, specifically homosexuality, lesbianism in this instance. Homosexuality is something that will always remain controversial globally, despite the fact that there's more acceptance of it in certain cultures now than ever before in the history of mankind. The majority of humanity still struggle with the concept. We're not all made the same. I can say that. Even identical twins are not exactly the same. They're not exactly the same. There are biological and physiological differences there. So by the same token, sexual interaction cannot be exactly the same across the world. But anything out of the ordinary is viewed with suspicion, fear, and sometimes hate. Not just sexuality, all kinds of things. Anything that is outside the accepted norm of a particular culture tends to be viewed negatively because it doesn't conform with the generally accepted practice. In this instance, we're looking at the story of a certain Amara. Now, I got this story from Linda Ikeji's blog, and she is described as a popular Nigerian lesbian. I find that description a bit worrying as well because it makes it sound like a profession. I thought what we do with our bodies behind closed doors is meant to be a personal and private thing. But of late, there's so much information out there that ordinarily wasn't something that people shared with strangers or people that were not closely connected to them. I don't know why that trend started. I don't know if it started with the advent of social media. And once you put anything out there in the public, you're inviting commentary and discourse. It's just natural. So anyway, for me, I find it a bit weird that she's referred to as a popular Nigerian lesbian. Popular Nigerian lesbian Amara was in tears as she got into a verbal altercation with her mother over her sexuality. That's Amara's sexuality. In a video filmed by Amara, her mother is heard blaming her for the judgment she suffers from people because of Amara's sexuality. The mother also blamed Amara for causing people to point fingers at her. But Amara tells her mother she is not a sin because she is a lesbian and it's not her fault that Nigerians are judgmental. "Mommy, I'm done. I'm done trying, honestly," Amara says with tears in her eyes, apparently affected by the conversation. She adds, "I am not a sin. I'm not a bad thing. I am not your problem. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry people point fingers at you, but it is not my fault." Amara is a vocal Nigerian LGBTQ activist who has made it clear previously that she is not a sin. She has been marginalized multiple times because of her sexuality. Firstly, I will say that the judgment that sexual minorities, people who are not heterosexuals, are ordinarily referred to as sexual minorities for people who might not be conversant with such terminology. And heterosexuals are you know, what we've always known, the conventional stuff, a man attracted to a woman and vice versa, those people are known as heterosexuals. Then when a man is sexually attracted to another man or a woman is sexually attracted to another woman, those people are called homosexuals. If you want to get really specific, men who are attracted to men are known as gay. Women who are attracted to women are known as lesbians, but they all fall under the same umbrella of homosexuality. This talk is not about whether being homosexual is right or wrong. I'm not in a position to say anything much about that. I don't understand it enough to say much about it. There's a lot of theory surrounding why that happens. Some people think that it's natural. People are born that way. Other people feel that people come to be socialized that way as a result of the environment within which they live. But for whatever the reason, the fact remains that there are people who are that way. And attempts to change them, to get them to be heterosexual, just don't seem to work. So for me, this talk is not about whether it is right or wrong, homosexuality, whether it is natural or it is just no, that's not what I'm talking about. I feel Amara, but I also understand the mother's pain.
Mommy, I'm done. I'm done trying. I'm done trying. Honestly, I'm not a sin. I'm not a bad thing. I'm not your problem. I'm not your problem. It's not my fault that people are judgmental. It's not my fault that people are pointing fingers at me when I walk. I gave you a breaking news. I may give them breaking news. So, it's me that gave them topic. So, no problem. I'm a lesbian. I'm very sorry. People point fingers at you. I am sorry, but it's not my fault. It's their fault. Mommy, I'm sorry. It's not my fault that we are living in Nigeria where these things are hard. But
that judgment that Amara is saying is a Nigerian thing is not a Nigerian thing. In fact, in some places in the West, very strong laws had to be instituted because people were going out and hunting down homosexuals and killing them. That's how much hate was being channeled toward homosexuals. So it wasn't even a matter of, like here in Nigeria, it's not that common to hear that somebody got targeted and done away with because of that person's sexuality. Yeah, there are laws against it, so the state will come for you. You get locked up and things like that. But on a personal note, yeah, every now and then, if they're caught in the act, beatings and all of this, but ordinarily, just, okay, I know that the person down the road is so inclined, and then I go out of my way to set a trap and get the person and do away with the person. It's rare, if at all. So that judgment that Amara seems to think is purely a Nigerian thing is not. It's not. Most of humanity is still uncomfortable with the concept of homosexuality. And much as we would like to view ourselves as entities as long as you have links with other people, what you do reflects on them, no matter how old you become. I recall that a certain well-known president, his antics left even the media wondering how his mother raised him. And this is somebody in his 70s. The way you carry yourself in public will reflect on your spouse. or your children. And what your children do, how they choose to conduct themselves in public, will also reflect on you. In Nigeria, even the regular stuff, until very recently, was something that people chose to keep private. People did not, even heterosexuals, until date, most heterosexuals do not want to come out and talk about their sexuality. And if stuff comes out, if your bedroom stuff comes out, you receive a lot of knocks for it. We all know how difficult it has been for a certain musician. There's nothing to hide there. Tiwa Savage. We all know how things went for her when her sex tape came out, and she's as heterosexual as they come. So Nigeria is still not at that place where people, it's generally and widely accepted that things pertaining to your sexuality be out in the open anyhow, even when you're heterosexual. Women who are heterosexual, or men, people who are heterosexual and are constantly talking about that, they still receive quite a bit of resentment. People just don't like it. So it goes beyond being a lesbian. It goes beyond that. Nigeria is still that country where the majority of the population are not comfortable with people coming out and talking about things that they feel should be stuff that's done behind closed doors and in private. That's what it is. But particularly because this lady is a lesbian, and that comes with extra tension and baggage. And if you notice, even from what is being said, the mother is more concerned about the perception people have of her. She feels that it's a reflection of her mothering skills, she didn't raise her daughter well, and so on. So, going strictly by the content here, you can see that it's not so much that the mother is bothered about her sexuality as the fact that it is out there in the open, thereby leading people to judge her, the mother, or maltreat her and things like that. And Nigeria is that kind of country where, I mean, I'm carrying dreadlocks. You know, there are places I go into with my dreadlocks and I receive a cold reception. And I know it's because of my dreadlocks, because sometimes I keep my hair covered. Sometimes I don't. There's a clear difference between what happens when my hair is covered and when it is exposed. There are still a lot of people who just are not comfortable with dreadlocks. They think it makes you look irresponsible. And the minute they see you looking like this, and they see another person who is carrying something more conventional, more sedate and everything, they're warmer to that. It's just small nuances, but it's there. Even if you're not looking for it, you see it, it's there. We're still talking about hair yet, though. Never mind sexuality. So you see, because of the environment we're in, before these kinds of conversations became public, nobody was interested in what any other person was doing behind closed doors. Nobody. You could be as sexual a minority as you wanted to be. As long as you were doing your thing in private, just as the heterosexuals were doing their own stuff in private, everybody was happy. So, I have worked in HIV. And when I first started work within the HIV sector, after a point, you know, we had to go out and train television producers and so on. And of course, we had to be trained to go out and pass the training down to other people. After a while, I got puzzled. It's like, why is there so much emphasis on talking about sex. And not just sex, but yes, that's one of the major ways in which HIV is spread, but sexual minority, oh, it's because they're always in the closet, so HIV tends to spread faster among them because, and I was like, okay. But HIV was the excuse that was, forgive my use of the word excuse, that was used as the reason for opening the door to these conversations, which are now putting people who belong to that community at great risk. So it isn't so much about insisting that sexual minorities should do their thing in private. It's about, we're living in a culture, we're living in a society that says that stuff that happens in the bedroom, be you a sexual minority or not, we want such stuff to stay in the bedroom. That's the crux of the issue, at least in this particular instance. I dare say that this same woman would not be particularly proud if her daughter were constantly talking about her sexuality as a heterosexual. There are just some things that certain generations will never get comfortable with. So while Amara probably feels that she needs to be a voice, or she is a voice for sexual minorities, people of the LGBTQ community in Nigeria and things like that, what her mother sees is a woman who has lost all inhibition and talks about things that should not be spoken about in public. Talks about those things in public. That's the general gist of what I got out of this. And for my part, I don't know. I sympathize with both sides. I know that many people who are homosexual and nothing will change them. So I don't have any judgment with regard to that. It's not about judging anybody. It's also about the fact of the kind of society we live in, and that when you have such inclinations, it impacts very negatively on your family. Or when you are wired that way. There are people who will not have anything to do with your parents, for instance, because of this. So, it's a dicey one. It's a dicey one. I hope Amara and her mother reach a place of understanding and reconciliation. But being a mother, I understand where Amara's mother is coming from, even if I don't necessarily support whatever approach she's using. Because she needs to know that scolding, beating, emotional blackmail, weeping, wailing, and things like that will not change her daughter's sexuality. She might be able to convince the daughter to not be so open about it, maybe. But will it change the core of who Amara is? I don't think so. So to all members of the LGBTQ community out there, understand that this talk is not about whether it is right or wrong for you to be a sexual minority, not at all. I'm just saying that in this particular case of Amara and her mother, I understand where Amara's mother is coming from because of the nature of the society in which we live.